Thank you very much for such a warm welcome. How are you guys? Are you well? Yeah. All right, so you just finished doing what you need to do on the phone? No, it's okay, I'm serious. I want you to relax. Your eyes, actually, let me start off by saying I am aware. So I'm from London, if you didn't know. Anybody here from the UK? That's not a bad thing. I'm not one of those British people. This is your country. There should be more of you here. That's fine. I just say that because I'm not just from London. I'm from Southeast London. I'm from, you guys heard of a place called Brixton? Yeah. You heard of a place called Peckham? Yeah. Right, so I'm from somewhere in between there called Lewisham. And for a very long time, I was not welcome in Brixton and Peckham. Yeah, we had a little gang problem for a little while, but we've had a lot of gentrification since then. And so now all the young white girls dress like the guys who were in gangs used to dress back in the 90s. You notice that nowadays? Like there's a lot more, like nowadays, like young girls, the whole dress code is like baggy jeans and baggy hoodies. Like I'm not sure if I'm looking at like white girls or members of the Wu-Tang. Like but it's good though, it's good. I feel like it's an important thing as well because, you know, I'm gonna start off, I guess, with a serious topic. Obviously, there seems to be a problem with men nowadays, particularly young men on the internet. And, you know, as an entertainer, I'm gonna use this time to say, I don't know what people have heard. I don't know, I think things seem to have changed, but no still means no. In case people didn't know that. And I know you guys seem like a smart crowd. You don't need me to tell you that. But a lot of young people are being told on the internet, if she's dressed a certain way, that bitch is asking for it because they listen to people like Andrew Tate, who is a very angry man who just needs to come out and enjoy being gay because he is from Luton and he never has a t-shirt on. And I'm like, it is not that warm where you're from. And he has like the tattoo. Have you guys seen Andrew Tate? Like, I'm not trying to defend Andrew Tate, but I understand why he's angry because he grew up in a place called Luton in the UK. Has anyone here heard of Luton? Yeah. Right. If you haven't heard of Luton, it is not too far outside of London. It's a weird place. Like, if you like flying EasyJet and, yeah, if you like watching foxes do heroin, then Luton is the place for you. Like, it is a fucked up place to come from. And that's where Andrew Tate was born. And in case you don't know, we have a racist group in the UK. They are called the EDL. They're called the English Defence League. They don't actually do real defense, like join the army or some shit. They just defend the streets from Muslims. They're not doing a very good job, luckily. But that's where Andrew Tate is from. And if you don't know this, Andrew Tate is actually mixed race. His dad is black, his mum is white. And if you grow up half black and half white in Luton, I understand why you're angry. Also, you know Andrew Tate has a brother, Tristan. He's also got a sister. And both of them still have their hair. And speaking as somebody that's got two sisters that have still got their hair, I'm fucking angry too. So, you know, it's a weird thing. He's always like got his top off. And he also has like this big tattoo that goes all over his body. And I noticed it's the same tattoo that Cardi B has on her butt cheeks. I'm not sure if they planned it that way, but that's what we're dealing with. But he's telling a lot of young men, like, you know, women are sluts and all the rest of it. And he tells them shit like if a woman's dressed a certain way, which is bullshit because the way women dress today, there is no excuse for men to approach women in an aggressive way. Because on the way here, I saw a lady dressed like a geography teacher and she was about 22. And I don't think she teaches geography. And also, her legs were hairier than mine. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it means you can't make an excuse about how a woman's dressed to approach her sexually. That's some fucking bullshit. Also, you never hear about women being beaten up on the way home from judo class. That never happens. Also, I remember like in the 90s, like there used to be a thing women used to wear like combat trousers. You ever heard of those? People wear combat trousers. Yeah, you ever heard of anybody getting into combat because of their trousers? No. So what you're wearing don't make a fucking difference is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just saying on behalf of the comedy and entertainment community, some of us still understand that no means no. And it's a real problem with men, because some men will be like, well, you say that, but sometimes when a woman says no, she means blah, blah, blah. And it's a gray area. There's no fucking gray area. The only gray area will be your bed in a prison cell. So I'm just saying, But if you are a young man, you're still confused about this, it is better, well, if you're that desperate, just go to a sex worker. But really, people have the right to change their mind. If you bring somebody back to your place, take off each other's clothes, they're in their bed, and they're in your bed, and they change their mind, they have the right to change their mind. No means no. Just like when you finish having sex consensually, and someone says, hey, can I stay over? No means no. I have this argument all the time. What, Dane, you're kicking me out now? I gave you my broadband password. What more do you want from me? You know the Wi-Fi. Now it's time to use that and get an Uber. So, thank you guys. So far, so good. So everybody here is from the Netherlands? No? Where are you guys from?
Germany, Argentina.
Yeah?
Maluku.
And?
Maluku. It's a part of Indonesia.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I need you to understand that I was taught geography in the UK. so it's mainly places that involve football. No, I know Indonesia. Oh God, it's not that bad, guys. What's your name, miss?
Neek.
Neek? Cool, good to meet you, Neek. And wie heißt du?
Antonia Sarah.
Oh, and surname as well. I like that.
Double name.
Oh, it's a double name. Okay, so like a hyphenated name. That sounds like you come from money.
I wish.
Don't we all, baby? And so you're from Argentina, sir?
Argentina.
Okay, cool. I know that one because football. And I guess, yeah, and as a British person, I got to be like, fuck you guys. For that one time that we didn't win many, many years ago.
We still remember, 37 years after, we still remember.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we just can't let that shit go. Now, you should know, as a black British person, I don't give a fuck that much. So you're going to be more than welcome here. How you guys doing? Yeah, you don't have to shrink yourself. It's okay. We're keeping it real casual here. Everybody's welcome. Here is a question that I feel I want to ask and just be honest. Raise your hand if you knew who I was before you came to this show. Neek? So 3 people. Oh, one guy here. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Have you seen me before? On TikTok. I need to TikTok a lot more then. It's hard though, because I'm like in my 40s now, and I don't want to be on social media too much. I've made a lot of mistakes on social media, and I look back now and I'm like, why was that person so fucking stupid? And I realized they were probably 14, and that's the problem with social media. You can't tell who you're arguing with. But don't get me wrong, I feel like social media could be a good thing if it's used properly. Like, I do use TikTok. I mainly use TikTok to get a lot of education about social trends, things that's happening in the world. I also follow some accounts, like, I don't like watching horror films, so I watch accounts of people who watch horror films for me to tell me what happened so I don't have to have nightmares. Because I come from a real tough part of Southeast London, but there's something you should know about black people. Like, we are strong people, but we are also very spiritual people. And we don't like to mess with certain things like you see in horror films. Like, we don't mess with shit like witchcraft. People like, it's not going to be one of these shows like, Sir, your face is like, where's he going with this? I hope it's not going to be one of these normal racial division things. Look, I'm not trying to like point out big differences between black and white people or Indonesian people. Would you say Javanese?
No.
No. Is that Malaysia?
No, it's not. It's just another part because it's like a string of islands.
Nick, can I ask you a question? Why do you have kind of like an Australian accent?
Because I spent a lot of years living in New Zealand.
Oh, so it's not even Australian at all. Okay. It's the nice part of Australia, which is a completely separate country. I have been to Australia before, though, guys. Not bragging, just saying. Did you enjoy? You as well? I'm glad that you're getting involved as well. Did you live in Australia? Did you live in Australia or just visit?
It was unfortunately just an exchange when I was 16.
You said unfortunately it was just an exchange?
I would have stayed there longer if I could have.
Oh, that's why I was unfortunate. I thought you meant the person was terrible.
No. The person was lovely.
They were lovely. Okay.
It was such a perfect.
Okay, I'm glad you had that experience. I've also been to Germany. This feels like I'm just bragging about my travels and I just showed up here. But no, I've been to Germany. I went to a place called Aachen. Yeah. You guys know Aachen? Yeah. I also stayed in a place called Heidelberg. So I feel like you hate Germany. You're like, oh, okay, what get some Dutch shit already. You're from here?
Yeah.
You grew up in Rotterdam?
No.
Whereabouts?
Waddinxveen.
How far is that from here?
15 minutes.
Okay, cool. Anyone else here from Bottersveen?
But in the
That's so efficient. Yeah, I love that about this country. Like, it's real flat. People can walk. That's why everybody here is in such good... Yeah, you can walk or take a bike or like a moped, and everyone's in shape, not like the UK. In fact, while I was outside, one of the members of staff I was talking about, he overheard me saying gym, and he was like, "You go to the gym?" Because, you know, I know Dutch people can be very blunt, and he kind of was like, "You don't look like you exercise." And I was like... So, you know, put a pin in the whole Australia thing, but yeah, that really did affect my body positivity, I won't lie to you. Now, I'm not saying I'm in the best shape. I don't think I'm in the worst shape. There's always work that can be done. I don't go to the gym. I find the gym boring and repetitive. I find it very unhealthy that human beings go running on a machine that doesn't go anywhere, and then you stop to take a water break, only to go back to the rat race. Like, it's kind of weird to go from being like a hamster to a rat, and also it stinks. So I normally when people ask me about the gym, I don't know how to respond, especially because guys are always like, "Dude, do you go to the gym, bro? Are you a gym, bro?" And I fucking hate that stuff. You know, sometimes, I'm not sure it's like here in the UK, sometimes if you say to somebody, "Hey, did you go to university?" They go, "I went to the University of Life." You heard when someone says that before? It sounds kind of defensive, right? Like they're angry that you asked them, or they couldn't go. They're like, "I went to the University of Life, actually." And it doesn't sound like you're having a good time. Maybe you should transfer. But yeah, they should just drop. I mean, sir, if you say better jokes than me, legally I'm allowed to steal those. Just. But yeah, it did inspire me though, because I thought when people ask me about the gym, I always say, "I go to the gym of life." And people are like, "What does that mean?" Or, "Do you lift?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I lift people's spirits with these jokes." "Do you run?" "As long as it takes to get away from my responsibilities." And they're like, "Fine, well, what about doing weights? You do any weights?" And I'm like, "What about the weight of the world on my shoulders as a black man?" And that brings the conversation to an end. So that's always good. At this point in this show, I like to tell people that I'm aware that there may be some tension between you and I because I'm from the UK and we voted to leave the EU. But we didn't all vote to leave the EU, because I voted to remain. And I say this because it was the smart thing to do, I thought, but I think a lot of people in London were kind of complacent. People in London were like, "Nobody would be that stupid. Well, we love to go into Amsterdam and having a short queue, and some of us are way too ugly to have girlfriends, so a red light district works really well for us. You know, I love weed as well." I mean, weed and pussy is probably one of the best sellers for any country, is what I'm trying to say. But it's important to note that it's not just weed and pussy that is available in the red light district. There's also a blue light district, where if you have different sexual orientations, you can also enjoy sex workers. Because, you know, there's obviously a contingent of transgender sex workers in the blue light district, which I want you to know I'm absolutely fine with, even though I'm from the same country as J.K. Rowling. Because she's got a problem with that. Like, you know J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter books, and she's got this problem with transgender people, which I think is really strange. If you write about 6 books about people being able to turn into animals and fly, and you really expect us to believe that there is a middle-class white boy living under some stairs and he never masturbates? That never comes up. "Harry, why are you wanking again?" No one ever says that, do they? That would have been realistic. "Harry, is this weed?" That, you know, that's the kind of thing you do when you live in a basement. But yeah, apparently, even though she believes that that is plausible and believable, the idea that somebody might be born in the wrong body is too far for her to grasp as a concept, which I think is fucking ridiculous, personally. Like, I like the fact that what you have in this particular club is there's toilets, but they say standing and sitting. They don't really reference gender, which I think is very progressive. It's a very cool way of handling that problem. Because a lot of people seem to have a problem with this. This whole idea about who uses what toilet, how's it supposed to work. Like some people get really upset about like unisex bathrooms. And you're like, well, how is this supposed to work? And I'm like, the same way it does in your fucking house. Right? Women are beautiful creatures, but they take shits. That's something every man has to learn at some point. Right? You know, I've got a twin sister. She shits like a construction worker. Like, she really... Yeah. Now, she's changed her diet since then. She's doing really well. Yeah, she's really taking care of herself. But there was a time... Oh, man, I didn't like to follow that at all. Oh, no, man. It's a controversial thing to say that you don't like J.K. Rowling in the UK. People get pissed off when I say that, but I got to tell my truth. I didn't really read the Harry Potter books. I watched the movies. But I have a good reason for not reading the books. I'm a fucking adult. And I just didn't find it interesting. And it just bothers me that there's just a lot of subtle racism in these books. And I feel like that's never really been addressed. I also don't like the idea that there is a group of elites that go to secret boarding schools and are taught very secret things compared to the rest of us. And they're allowed to commit acts of terrorism on general civilians, and they never have to go to court for human rights abuses. And if you criticize them, you get cancelled. So, make of that what you will. But yeah, one of the films I watched Order of the Phoenix. And I think this is what put me off the whole Harry Potter thing, because if you've not seen the film, plot spoilers ahead. But basically, this one happens after Goblet of Fire. And Cedric gets killed. If you don't know who Cedric is, then lucky you. But basically, Voldemort is back. And so Harry decides to do the responsible thing of training a group of child soldiers to become a magical paramilitary to fight against the dark arts, like any responsible person would do. And while he's doing that, he strikes up a lovely romance with a young student, Chinese student called Cho Chang. And first of all, I heard somebody laugh because the name Cho Chang does not sound like J.K. Rowling spoke to any Asian people about that. You know what I think happened? She was having it proofread by the publisher, and they were like, so you got a Chinese student here, what should her name be? And she was like, I don't know, they're Chinese, ching chang chong chong chong. And they were like, no, that's racist, J.K. And she was like, fine, Cho Chang then, I don't give a fuck. And a lot of you didn't laugh as much because that sounded like really racist to Asians. But if it makes you feel better, the black guy in Order of the Phoenix, his name is Kingsley Shacklebolt. Did you guys know this? Talking to the 5 black people in the room. Did you know that? You know what a shackle bolt is? That's a bolt they put in chains so slaves can't escape. Why the fuck would that be somebody's name? Also, if he could do magic, he wouldn't be a slave, JK, you idiot. Anyway, Harry strikes up a romance with Cho Chang, who is also a lovely Scottish actress in real life. Now, you would think that after reading a few of the books by Harry Potter, people would start to empathize with the fact that he is an orphan. Both his parents are dead and he has to go to boarding school. So the fact that he finds someone that cares about him at school would be good news to the readers. But oh no. No, they hated it. And in fact, the actress who played Cho Chang actually got a lot of hate mail from Harry Potter fans who were like, why is this Asian girl with Harry Potter? She should leave him alone. This Chinese bitch needs to leave Harry alone. Like, it became so visceral and horrible. Like, I was disgusted. Especially because how the fuck you gonna have a book about human beings and not include Chinese people? There's more Chinese people than any other type of human in the world. You want it to be realistic or not? And also, how are you gonna read a book about a middle-class white kid who wears glasses and goes to a boarding school and be surprised that he has a fetish for Asian girls? Nick knows what I'm talking about. Come on, girl. Right? I'm telling you, they see it as a gap year, you know. Always at the moon party. Anyway. So anyway, I did vote to remain, is what I'm trying to say. Brexit is a weird one. I'm going to let you know, as a British citizen and a law-abiding taxpayer, it's not going well. No one wants to admit it's not going well, but it's not going well. And there were clues that it wasn't going to go well, because at the time, our Prime Minister was David Cameron. Now, to give you some insight onto who David Cameron is, David Cameron's family owned slaves. And that was not enough for him, even though they were still getting paid compensation for years up until 2016, which is a long time after slavery ended. And he was like, you know what, that's not enough power for my family. I'm going to be Prime Minister too. And he was like, I need everybody to vote in this referendum, and we'll see whether or not we leave the EU. And the UK voted to leave, and then he resigned. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but if somebody in employment says, make a decision, and then you choose something, and then they quit their job, that is not a good sign. If you went to the bar and was like, let me get a drink, and the bartender was like, here you go, by the way, I quit. You wouldn't be that comfortable drinking that shit, would you? If I went to McDonald's and they were like, would you like a McChicken sandwich or a Big Mac? And you said Big Mac, and they were like, psh, I quit. I would not eat that burger, is what I'm trying to say. It's so stupid now because, like, even though we've left the EU, the UK is still in Eurovision. No, it's okay.
There's other countries in Europe
There are other countries in Eurovision.
that are not in Europe.
Yeah? Azerbaijan? Oh, of course. Australia. You know, you're allowed to say white countries. Because it sounds like it's white countries in Azerbaijan. You don't believe me? How many times you watch Eurovision? No? Black people in the back, you watch Eurovision? No, exactly. Madam, you watch Eurovision? Maybe some of it? Yeah. When you're over with the family and stuff, the in-laws? Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, most of the time, black people don't really care about Eurovision. The UK don't really care about Eurovision that much either. In fact, I know that mainly for a lot of European countries, Eurovision is a way of beginning a music career. In the UK, you do Eurovision when your career has ended. Yeah. That's in Europe, that's UK. Not going well. I don't know. We just, Eurovision is what I would call what would happen to music in Europe if Europe weren't colonizers, basically. In the same way that, you know, the Olympics and athletics would be pretty boring if it wasn't for black people too. In fact, we have a word for that, or we have a phrase for that in the UK, it's called Sports Day. And that is it, really. So, again, thank you guys for coming to this show, because I know you could have been at home watching Eurovision. Who do you think will win this year? You don't know? I have an idea. It's a little known band from Europe called I Don't Give a Fuck. So, okay. So, I should tell you more about me. I've recently become a father. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a beautiful daughter. Her name is Rolex Mercedes. Because that's how much it's going to cost to raise this angel. Oh, my God. I'll be honest. Anyone else here have kids? Yeah. How many kids do you have, madam? 2 kids? Yourself? 1? None. Look at your face. That is the brightest smile you've produced this whole time you've been here. It feels good. Isn't it good to be an auntie? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these people that I hate kids. Kids are wonderful. They're little people, and kids are just a product of how they're raised in the environment. I love kids. But you know what one of the best things is about raising a child? Yes, right. Giving them back legally. That's one of the best things you can do when you have a kid. Now, what's been tough is realizing just how difficult it is to raise a child. And I was somebody who did not care about parents. I used to be like, it's not my fault you love bareback sex more than sleep. I don't care. And now, as a parent, I have to apologize to other parents. I did not know how tough it is. Even right now, I'm having a great time on stage, but there's part of me being like, I want to sleep so badly. I feel like that should be a thing. Like, there should be like a parents' comedy club, and in between the set, everyone just has like a 10-minute nap. But the crazy thing is about having a daughter is seeing how other men react to you being a father to a little girl, because my friends are like, hey man, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. They're like, no, but you okay? Because you got a little girl now. I'm like, I'm fine. They're like, yeah, but you know what I mean. Are you okay? And before, I didn't know what this meant, but now I understand the subtext of that, and that is that a lot of men do not realize nor pay attention to how unfair the world is to women until they have a woman with their DNA that they need to protect. Now, I grew up with a lot of women in my family, so I don't have that problem, but I know a lot of my friends are very scared of raising little girls because they remember back in college when they were disgusting, sexual degenerate savages. And now, they're all scared of karma. Oh, they are scared now. It was fun when it wasn't your daughter. But now there's a little person with their face. And my friends call me all the time. Sometimes these guys are having panic attacks. They're like, Dane, I can't sleep at night. And my girl's getting bigger every day. Dane, my daughter cannot leave this house. Have you seen the disgusting fucking perverts that are out there, Dane? I can't sleep at night. What the hell am I supposed to do bringing up a little girl in this cold, disgusting world? And I tell my friends, like, I don't know why you're reacting that way. At the end of the day, the key is you have to treat your daughter, first of all, like a human being that you respect. You give her unconditional love. You support her decisions, whether they're good decisions or bad decisions. And what you can't do is try to dominate her, tell her what she's doing wrong all the time, because normally that just pushes the little girl away. And my friend's like, what the fuck do you know? You've only been doing the job for 6 months. I'm like, well, that's long enough to work it out. And at the end of the day, your daughter at some point will maybe meet someone she likes or loves, and she might introduce you, and what you can't do is get pissed off, because that's just going to push her towards that person, especially if you don't like them. And they're like, Dane, you don't know shit. You just got a baby girl. So I'm like, fine. If your daughter brings no one home, you might be happy, but it might mean she's ugly, and that is your fault, because she has to get those ugly looks from somewhere, buddy. Now, I know it's not very nice to refer to people's kids as ugly, but ugly people have to come from somewhere. And if some of you are looking at me right now thinking, you're not so great, maybe you're a little ugly, Dane. Well, I have the right to talk about my own people. I know it sounds kind of shallow and superficial to talk about ugly, and I can admit that's not a perfect thing to have, and that's definitely more of a man thing. That's why we have the phrase, a face only a mother could love. That's like one of the sayings we have in the English language, a face only... No one ever says a face only a father could love. That's just got weird connotations anyway. In fact, if you even heard a man be like, I still love him, you'd be like, you sound weird, dude. You sound really weird. I say this because I was reading... You guys have the Huffington Post here? Right, so I read the Huffington Post every now and again because, I travel, I get bored, but also I'm progressive. And they did a survey, and do you guys know what one of men's greatest fears are when they go like on a blind date? Anybody want to guess? Close. There you go, you got it. Second time round, like a real man. First time it was like, ugly. And I was like, nah, that's kind of subjective. And then he was like, fat. And he said it like that too, like, fat. That's correct. One of men's biggest fears when they go on a blind date is the woman that they meet will not be as she is displayed in her profile picture, and she'll be overweight. That's men for you. You want to know what women's greatest fear is when they go on a blind date? Anybody want to guess?
Short. Getting murdered?
There you go. Short was close, but Neek is correct. It's getting murdered. Do you see the size of the gap between those two fears? That don't sound like it's fair. I hope, like men are like, I hope she's not away. I hope she's not too fat. Whereas women have to be, call me when you get there so I know you're alive. Men are getting ready like, I hope she's not fat. Women are getting ready being like, I hope this dress looks nice in case I'm buried in it. That's the fear women have to live with every single fucking day. That on an innocent blind date, your drink might get spiked, you might get drugged, and you wake up in a sex dungeon and you may never leave. That is not something men fear. In fact, if you get drugged and end up in a sex dungeon, that's not a bad date if you're a guy. You imagine when a guy, he ends up in a sex dungeon, he's gonna come back to his apartment with his friends, take out his suitcase, and he's like frantically packing clothes. His friends are like, hey man, what the fuck has happened? What do you mean what's happened? I haven't been here for 3 days. I know what happened. I went on a date, remember? Yeah. And the lady drugged me, this girl, woke up in a sex dungeon, and she had her way with me for 3 days. I just got out. Oh shit, so why are you packing your suitcase? You going into witness protection? No, I'm going back to her house for a week, man. Did you not hear sex dungeons, stupid? That's the thing, like, it's important for all men nowadays to do this kind of research. I can admit that I was definitely naive, like the idea of aggressing a woman in public or saying some wild shit, or even like in comedy where people will say wild shit to women in green rooms. I thought that, you know, no one would be that stupid to be that unprofessional, but I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. Like, I've even heard it sometimes, like, a woman will go on stage, she'll go and do a great job, and guys will be like, oh, well, you know, women just talk about their periods. That's what that is. They always just talk about their periods. Women are always talking about being on their period. And I'm like, and what the fuck is the problem with that? Because I'll tell you guys this right now. If I, your favorite British comedian, the modest Dane Baptiste, if I started bleeding out my dick at the age of 12 and then continued to bleed out my dick every month, everybody would fucking know about that. I feel like sometimes women don't talk about it enough. Because I tell you this, I'd bring that up every time I could. Because men, we like to exchange war stories. Sometimes it's crazy, you know? Sometimes men, as men, we talk about violent shit we've seen, violent films we've watched, violent art that we've consumed. Sometimes a guy will be like, yeah, so anyway, I'm in the club. The dude walks in there, he's got a gun, he starts shooting, there's crazy people running, there's blood everywhere. I'd be like, oh yeah, there was blood on the floor. You know what else? I'm bleeding out my dick. Did that happen in the club? Shut the fuck up then. Anywhere I could, you'd be at dinner, I'm like, I'm gonna get the steak. How you like your steak? I like mine's rare, a little bit of blood. Oh, a little bit of blood, that's okay with you? I'm glad, because I'm bleeding out my dick, how about that? I will say in the defense of my gender, though, to the ladies in the room, men, we don't discuss our medical issues. Even natural things, we just don't discuss it. You know, and that's just something that women discuss all the time. Sometimes women don't have a choice, because you deal with a lot more societal pressure than men do. Like, for example, when it comes to, like, you know, the morning after pill. It's a thing women have to take, and a lot of the time it's not easy to get. Because I've been there with a partner and had to go to a drugstore to get a morning after pill. Because I'm a gentleman, but I make mistakes. And you got to own up to those mistakes. But sometimes it's tough for women. I've seen like a pharmacist be like, okay, you want the morning after pill, madam? Well, I need you to answer me some questions. Where were you? What were you doing? Why do you need this? Why are you such a slut? Like, it's not easy at all for women. And I don't think that's fair, because I'm not sure what it's like over here in the Netherlands, but now in the UK, as a man, you can get Viagra without a prescription, over the counter, just like you're buying aspirin. That's how easy it is. Can you imagine if it was that hard for men, just like you had to get the morning after pill? The guy was like, I like the little blue pill. Why? Can't you go to the gym? Why don't you buy a Porsche? What's wrong with your dick, motherfucker? Like, men would not like that. Definitely wouldn't like that at all. I don't think it's fair. I think a lot of the time, you know, there's ways that we can at least mitigate the circumstances of women, since they form the largest population of human beings on the planet. I've been thinking maybe, you know, if comedy's not paying that much, maybe I should invest in, like, you know, some birth control, but not just any kind of birth control. Because I've been thinking, men, you know, you like to treat a lady from time to time if you're a good man, and women like, you know, chocolates from time to time. So why have we not created chocolate-covered birth control? Wouldn't that be a sweeter pill to swallow? Wouldn't it be nice, ladies, to finally have an advent calendar that had 2 functions? Not just Christmas time, but not just an immaculate conception, but no conception whatsoever. Wouldn't that be great? Valentine's Day for a man to show he really cares. Sample Nika, guys like, hey there, Nick, baby, you know I love you. Happy Valentine's Day. I booked us a hotel, but I also have these from Lint. They're called precautions. So, and guess what, girl? There's no nuts. Just an idea I had, I guess. Now, I did say before that men are shallow, and I feel like that's part of my journey to try and become a better feminist. One of my greatest fears as a comedian is that time passes me by and I become one of these dinosaur comedians who's like, you can't say anything anymore, you can't say anything, political correctness, you can't say anything. And I tell you this, guys, because I have been cancelled. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of trouble in the UK. Apparently, if you are not in favour of a genocide, then they don't want you performing in the UK. And if they can't get to you, sometimes they'll try it with your family. And now people think that I'm some kind of anti-Semite, which is a terrible thing to say about me, because I've worked with countless Jewish comics and producers and executive producers and people, and about half my family are also circumcised, and I love bagels. And I know that sounds stupid, but that's what racists say when they say something offensive. They'll be like, oh, I can say that, I got a black friend. I can say that, you know, my brother's wife's cousin used to babysit a black kid, so I can say that. One of the reasons I get in trouble in the UK is because I pull up a lot of comedians when they try and get away with racist shit, because a lot of the time, a lot of comedians will say something racist and be like, but that's not me, that's my grandma. She said that shit, you know, and back in those days, grandmas were racist, and that's why it's okay. And I'm like, that sounds like a bit of a, I don't know, a cop-out. You're just trying to get out of being racist, because I feel like, cause they'll be like, oh no, not me, I love everybody, it's just that my nana's racist, that's what the thing is. And I'm like, well, if you really care about getting rid of racism, kill your nan. You should kill her before I see her first, because if she's racist to me, I'll slap her saggy titties over her shoulder. Slap the piss straight out of your nan, I don't give a fuck. You don't see colour, I don't see age, so... Only that way, not the other way, though. I should say that, not in a... You should make that very clear in case that ends up on TikTok for the wrong reasons. So, yeah. I'm doing my best. I'm not there yet. I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying I'm perfect yet, but the point is, I'm open to learning, and I think that's a big part of it, to becoming a better man. So I'm open to learn more about women. Like, you know, we're in our 4th wave of feminism now, you could argue, and trying to get on board with that, you know, and a lot of women will say stuff like, tired of the male gaze judging everything women do. You can't win. Can't be too big, can't be too small. Like, men want you to be a virgin, but then have the natural ability of a porn star when it comes to sex. Like, this shit don't make sense. And a lot of women are like, we are tired of having our sexuality judged by men. Women should be able to have sex with whoever they like, however they like, and not be judged by men. You ever heard that before? Yep. You kind of rolled your eyes when you said that, like, yeah. I hear it a lot, Dane, actually. But you agree, though, right? Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do feel like, you know, there is a part of that is kind of incorrect, though. Because women are like, we should be able to have sex with whoever we want, however we want, just like men, and not be judged. And I think that is incorrect, because men do not have sex with whoever they want. Men have sex with whoever they can. There is a big difference between those two things. Do you think we would have this many sex bots and this much porn on the internet if men could have sex with whoever they want? No, men grab it whenever they can. And I guess that's part of the problem. Now, as I say, I'm trying to learn all the time. I learned something a couple of years back, which I want to share with predominantly the men in the room. Women, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I think it's something men should learn. Guys, did you know if a woman's vagina is too clean and she tries to clean it too much, that can actually lead to more problems? Sounds insane, but you're right, sir. Because some men, you may notice, you may meet a girl, you go over to your girl's house, or you can stay in a hotel with your lady on holiday, and she's got 2 soaps in the bathroom. You're like, what? 2 soaps and an exfoliator? What the fuck is going on here? And that's because women know you can't use regular soap below their equator, because a lot of soaps contain parabens, they're scented, they've got perfumes, and these can be very irritating and lead to an acute condition known as BV. You know what that stands for? Nope. Yourself, sir? How about you? This gentleman here? Learned man. How about you, sir? You know? I feel like you know? But you guys say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Oh, not the term? But you still heard of it, right?
I know what it is.
Okay. Yeah. You know what it is. A little bit. I was once like you, young man. Afraid to have vaginal discussions.
My mom told me that.
Yeah, it's the best place to learn. Because before she was a mum, she was a woman.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no, I should say yeah.
And she still is, yeah. Some men forget that. Some men forget that their mothers were women as well, and they see them as more of a servant. So that's why I say that. I don't think that's the case with you, though. You seem like a nice man. So for the men here who don't know, BV, in English anyway, is a term, stands for bacterial vaginosis. And yeah, it's one of these things that women deal with in private like they normally do, without bothering men, because you see how awkward it was between us, and he was like, my mother is a woman, I know, but where are we going with this? Yeah. Your mother is safe from me, sir. Yeah. But if you are a man that's only learning this now, do not worry. Women are able to treat themselves like they normally do in these situations. And in most instances, it's something treatable, not too serious, normally indicated by a change in pH. I believe the pH stands for pussy health. I didn't read the whole website is what I'm trying to say. Okay. I've been pretty stupid for a while. I want to approach to discuss some serious things, like the fact that Donald Trump is back. He is back in the White House. That house has never been whiter since it was first built. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little worried. Because first, a little, yeah. That's how you say it in the UK. When you're filled with existential dread, you gotta be like, yeah, I'm a little bit worried still. Madam, I am a man. We don't show emotion like that. Not where I'm from. Sorry, excuse me, guys. Let's ruminate on Donald Trump for a second. Grab your drinks, guys. Drink it up. Enjoy yourselves. Am I drinking or are they drinking? They're drinking. Yeah, they're getting drinking. Do I want some? No, I'm okay. I'd love to, but I'm working. Yeah, it can be a tough job. You guys are making it good, though. Also, I don't drink beer, as an aside. And, in the spirit of being open and trying to embrace the feminine side, I should let you know I don't drink beer. I don't drink wine. I occasionally might drink cognac here and there, but my thing is cocktails. Oh, man, I love me some cocktails. And I can see the respect leaving the eyes of the men in this room. What happened to all the pussy jokes? Now he's cocktails? I was just... And you guys need to understand that growing up as a cisgender, heterosexual black man in southeast London, it takes a lot of courage for me to say I like something that begins with cock. Because as soon as you say that first syllable, people are like, where the fuck's this going, bro? But I like cocktails. And I do have to thank my gay friends for introducing me to cocktails. Because I used to work in an office, and I remember having a really bad day. And my friend said, Dane, come to the club. We're going to Soho. It's happy hour. We're going to have some cocktails. And I'll be honest with you guys, these drinks were so good. I was like, am I gay? Because, you know, I was young, and that's what straight men do. If they enjoy themselves in a homosexual environment, they'll be like, oh, am I gay? Is that why I've been so depressed lately? I don't know if anybody else has ever had that before. I think a lot of men are afraid of that. If they spend enough time around, like, homosexual or the LGBT community, that they will change. I personally feel like you're discovering something that's always been there. Like, hanging around gay people will not make you gay any more than hanging around footballers will make you good at football. Unfortunately. But, like, I don't know. I love cocktails now, and I don't care how gay they look. Umbrella, sparklers, slice of pineapple. You could bring me a cocktail in a butt-shaped glass with a dick-shaped straw, and I would drink that dry. I'm not even pausing, bro. I'm playing. I like cocktails. I find them delicious. I find them fruity. I find them scrumptious. And I think I'm the only black person I know with a penis who uses the word scrumptious. It's messed up as well because, you know, I can't normally use words like scrumptious or yummy to describe things because, like I say, if you go, pause, that's really weird. Which is messed up because we got this show in the UK called The Great British Bake Off. You heard of it? Yeah, so this is a show about, like, delicious treats and cakes and stuff, and they invite a lot of comedians on there a lot of the time. And obviously words like yummy and scrumptious, that's how you describe cakes. But I grew up in South East London. I'm not allowed to say that shit because people will make assumptions about my true lifestyle. Especially if you're a successful black man on TV, they're like, oh yeah, he's gay as fuck, that's why. He's gay or Illuminati, that's gotta be one of them. I don't want to get any of those rumors, but if they hand me a cake, what am I supposed to do when they're like, here you go, Dane, here's a red velvet cupcake with sprinkles. How does that taste? I'm like, oh, this is yeah, this is fucking dope, you know, yeah. This is amazing, bro. The icing on the cake is bright. It reminds me of a gunshot. The sponge is warm and moist. It reminds me of stripper pussy. Like, they can't talk that way on Bake Off. Do you watch Bake Off? Do you go to strip clubs? Do you like cupcakes? Okay, yeah, we was gonna get there in the end. I knew we had something in common. But yeah, Donald Trump is back, guys. Which I think is a cool segue from strippers to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is back. You was asking me, you're just kind of worried. I'm pretty worried. I mean, basically, at this point now, I'm putting together a bucket list of things I want to do because I'm pretty sure that World War III is not too far away. And, you know, in this part of the world, we've had quite a long period of relative peace, but you know how humans be humaning, so it's about that time. Now, I'm not gonna, you know, depress you any further about that point. I just will say that, like, if there are things you need to do in your life now and you're waiting for a perfect time, do not wait. Exactly, right? Now's the time, okay? We are in a crazy time globally right now. Weather's going crazy. Countries are going crazy. Like, we can all see that this whole fascism thing seems to be creeping back. A lot of people say that fascism is capitalism in decay. And capitalism is definitely in decay right now. Like, I'm not sure. What's house prices like? All right, so yeah. So you own a home? Yeah. You don't own a home? And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm saying, like, you don't mind me asking, how old are you, sir?
I'm 50.
50 years old. First of all, congratulations making this far. Halfway through a century is not easy. And so you rent? You rent your apartment or you rent a home?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, because it's expensive as shit, right? I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but in the UK, you could buy a 2-bedroom house where I live now will probably cost you about £1 million. Can you believe that? I don't know, I was born in the 80s, I'm in my 40s, right? And when I used to close my eyes and picture what £1 million house looked like, it would at least have a fucking garden. When you think £1 million, you think like 2 garages, maybe there's like a basketball net, a pool maybe, not even a big pool. Maybe like you do some width or just big enough for a party, but no, where I live, you can pay £1 million for a home and still have mice And you outside on the wrong day, there might be a crackhead taking a piss on your window. And you might be like, what are you doing to my £1 million home? And they'll be like, mind your fucking business. That's where we are now economically. And rather than address the economic inequality in this country, we are constantly being misled by the media. Constant distractions. Like one of the new distractions we have is who would win a fight between 100 men and a gorilla. You guys heard this? You ever heard it? All right, so you sound like a smart person that doesn't go on the internet too often. So, yeah. A smart and confident woman. And you know what? Don't go on the internet if you want to stay that way. A lot of men on there that hate that. But essentially, there is now a large, pretty much global discussion about who would win a fight between 100 men and one gorilla. And for me, this is incredibly stupid. But I want this to be a democracy. Raise your hand if you feel like 100 men could beat a gorilla. And raise your hand if you think, yeah, the men, yeah. It's mainly the men. And this is what it was supposed to be, a masculinity test. Ladies in the room, it's weird, right? That's everyone like, yeah. Why did that question in the heads of the men in this room sound more like, who's still a virgin? Not me, I had sex. What are you talking about? All right, raise your hand if you feel like 100 men will get fucked up by a gorilla. All right. Do you know what? It's kind of split. It's kind of around these gender lines. Now, some of you are saying no way, and I feel like you're thinking about the fact that that's like 100 men. That's so many people, eventually they would overwhelm a gorilla. But you have to consider human nature, okay? Even in times of war, not every man on a battlefield fires his gun. And the reason for that is because human beings are not predisposed for violence. That's why we develop tools. That's why we have opposable thumbs, because we are not naturally violent. It's also why our canines and our jaw strength is not designed like a tiger's to bite through and crush bone. We're not predators like that. It's just that we have gassed ourselves into thinking we could take on an animal that is 4 times stronger than the average human being. Now, before we even get into gorilla shit, I want to talk to you about chimpanzees. Just to give you some scale of how this shit works. So chimpanzees are 3 times stronger than the average human male, and some people argue they are more violent than gorillas. So there is a particularly famous chimpanzee named was Travis. Now Travis used to live with a family in America, and they treated him like he was one of their own. He used to eat at the dinner table. He had his own car. Sometimes he would bathe with the matriarch of the house. So he thought he was a normal person. But, yes, that's the face to make. You did the face where, like, that's the face where you hear scientists go, we have found a mosquito with dinosaur DNA in some amber, and we're going to explore that. And your face was like, why do you need to do that? Just leave it alone. So another thing about Travis is that, unsurprisingly, Travis being kind of in a form of captivity whereby chimpanzees are 98% identical to humans in DNA, which means they get older, they develop, they go through puberty, and they will develop sexual urges as well. So you have to imagine that this is a chimpanzee who has no mate, is not around any other chimpanzee like themselves, is relatively isolated, also had Lyme's disease, and was also getting over the depression of the patriarch of the house dying suddenly. So your dad's gone, can't find a woman, don't know how to relate to other chimpanzees, and these fuckers have got you going around in a Hawaiian shirt as if you're Bubbles the monkey, and you're not even living in Neverland with Michael Jackson. That is enough to make anybody angry. So one day, Travis is having some real issues with his mental state, and this family decide they're gonna give him human drugs, and they start giving this chimpanzee Xanax. That's right. This chimpanzee is popping Xannies. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the side effects of Xanax, but one of them and it's quite extreme, but not so extreme when you're a fucking chimpanzee, is what's called post-psychotic amnesia and euphoria. And that all sounds like some long-ass words. What that basically means is you can do some crazy shit and not even know you've done it. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, in a much more simple way, don't give that shit to chimpanzees. Because they will go crazy. Now, Travis naturally went crazy. And Travis is outside of the house having a psychotic episode. Or just having an episode. He basically monkeying around. Like chimpanzees do. Now, the people who I guess are the guardians of Travis, they have like a domestic, they have a cleaner or like a, I want to say like housemaid, but she works there anyway. And they were like, hey, can you go and get Travis to come back inside? And she was like, what do you mean? What, with a tranquilizer gun? No, just ask him. What? But he needs to get inside. Can you help? And I guess she was like, okay, I'm going to go out there and try and help get Travis back inside. And Travis did not take that news well. Has anyone here seen the Jordan Peele film Nope? Yeah. Anyone seen that film? So you remember in the film, there's a lady in the film who doesn't have a face? That's the lady. So basically, Travis took off her nose. He ripped off her lips. Bare hands, mind you, with his bare hands. He removed 3 fingers from one of her hands, 5 fingers from her other hand. Yeah. And she was one of the first people to receive a face transplant because of the damage that was done by Travis. And these men want to fight a fucking gorilla. That's a chimp. We're talking about a gorilla. So why you're like, that's a lot of men. I don't know about you. But if I saw somebody get their face ripped off with bare hands, I'm turning round. This is what you got to understand about the average man. There may be 100 people go in at first, but when the first 4 get their faces ripped off, and you need to know, gorillas can also bite through a human skull with their own jaws. If you see a gorilla eat someone's head, you're gonna back off. Because you know what none of these men asked? Is there a fucking cash prize? You're gonna go and fight a gorilla for free? That makes no sense. And even if there was a cash prize, if there is £1 million cash prize and it's only me and you left, I'm gonna kill both of you for that money. I will immediately betray you. So, but the real reason I get pissed off with this whole thing is the fact that we are fighting amongst ourselves to work out if we should be fighting gorillas. Gorillas have no bearing on our lives. But you know who do have bearings on our lives? The billionaires who are now building bunkers because they are also predicting that Donald Trump might start World War III and they want to be safe. I personally feel like 100 men could beat the shit out of Elon Musk and there would be a cash prize. Instead of wasting time trying to fight big animals, why don't we fight some billionaires and kick the shit out of them? Because 100 men could take Elon Musk's security quite easily. So, less fighting of gorillas, more fighting of billionaires is what I'm trying to say. Okay, we're almost out of time. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves so far. I also hope that you all follow me on TikTok or whatever your chosen social media platform is. It'd be great to stay in touch. I'd love to come back. I'll be back in September, so hopefully I'll see you guys then. Now, as I said, I'm not always on TikTok, but I do pay attention to some accounts. And you know the account of the guy that watches the fucked up shit? I was watching it on the way here, and he was talking about a film called Zoo. Has anybody heard of this film, Zoo? No, you're already like, I don't, where is this going? And you're right to do that, madam. Always to have that, that certain level of black cautiousness. You gotta feel it out before you walk in there blind, am I right? So basically, Zoo is a film that pertains to people known as zoophiles. Yeah. Well, you know what a pedophile is? Yeah, someone who has an unhealthy attraction towards children. And that's right, I fucking said unhealthy. But zoophile is someone who has, I guess, an unhealthy attraction to animals. Right. So in this film, there was a gentleman, and his thing was horses. Right. Now, that's another thing. Horses, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with horses, but they are well endowed. Because there is a phrase in English which is hung like a donkey. Horses are bigger than fucking donkeys. Horses' dicks are so big that's why they have to use fillies and women in, female horses in a lot of films, because the size of the horse dick would probably distract you from watching some epic... Like, you trying to watch Gladiator, and Maximus is on a horse, you'd be like, the wrong person is called Maximus in this film. Wrong person is called Maximus. So this man, I guess his thing was, his sordid fantasy was to be penetrated by a horse. Right. And he made that happen. And I know that we're not a room full of scientists, but can anybody guess what happened to this man? That's right, he died. Of course he fucking died. Because dying is nature's way of saying, don't do that shit. Now, I'm not judging this man, nor am I gloating at his death. That's your job, right? You guys feel free to judge. My job here is to observe. Yeah, well, I mean, what more punishment could there be for having such a weird taboo fetish other than death, right? You know, people make mistakes. His mistake cost him his life, you know? And that means he has to have a funeral, because he's a human being. But it made me think, what the hell do you say at that funeral? How do you eulogize a man who died being fucked in the butt by a horse? No idea. Most comedians wouldn't leave you on that joke. But I believe in you guys. I feel like you can handle it. Lovely people of Rotterdam and 15 minutes away. It's been an absolute pleasure performing for you here at Club Haug. I would just like you to do a few things before we go. Please give a round of applause to our tech and all the staff here at Club Haug, please. Guys, it's genuinely been a pleasure. Please do stay in touch. I will be back here doing a tour with some other comics. I'm also going to be joined. You guys know Chris Rock? Yeah, well, it's going to be his brother, but he's still really good. He is really good. His name is Jordan Rock. And Chris vouches for him, but he is a great comic. I'll be joining him on tour here later on this year, so please do stay in touch. Find me on Instagram or TikTok. Stay in touch. I'll post more about it. In the meantime, guys, have a great weekend. My name has been Dane Baptiste. You've been amazing. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great weekend. Thank you.